Good evening. This is Maestro with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 1v1 on Fedrid Folly. Our first player will be Local, also known as Local Ghost, playing as Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. This is a spellcasting and battlefield manipulation hero. His opponent will be Jester, playing as the Kommando Nob, shooty orc hero. Can infiltrate. He's also got guns, bombs, and knives to kill you all sneaky-like. So then, our players right here, particularly Local is someone who, he's got a little bit of a reputation. I have seen replays of Local beating good players, but he often gets a lot of flack in the community for some reason. Supposedly for quote-unquote being bad. He does sometimes mess around where he might just troll a bit, do ridiculous builds. Sometimes he will just, at times, be caught on camera, on cast, with some rather bad micro mistakes. But again, at the same time, I have also seen him beat some good players. And it's not like people really are under an obligation to play this game super seriously every single time, every single moment of their life. You might just be playing it for fun. And, well, that being said, we'll see how this match goes here. Now, this matchup is also something that we've got the Sorcerer. For those of you who don't know, especially if, you're joining me this year and not so many years ago when, I actually used to play this game. The Sorcerer is my personal favorite hero in the game. He was my main when I played a lot more actively. And in my opinion, he is the most interesting hero in the game. There are things that they try to do with the design of this hero to try to make him kind of creative and interesting. Particularly many of his accessory war gears are rather creative, and by creative that also means that in practice they can also be kind of cheesy. So cheesy that to some extent many of the Sorcerer's accessory war gears have arguably been overpowered at some point, or too good in certain respects, because just by their nature they do things that no other hero in the game can do. And it's honestly very difficult to balance. Some of those war gears have been nerfed over time in the Elite mod. Some of them even to the extent where they're probably not even that good anymore. Now, the Orc Tier 1, generally speaking, and not that there's no build variation, but generally speaking, the Orc Tier 1 usually... The core of it is usually the heavy range DPS of the Shootas. Although, that being said, we don't see Jester going into the upgrades just yet, so these Shootas, out of the gate, the individual Shooter models only do, I believe, 7 piercing DPS per model, so on a 5-model squad, that's 35 piercing DPS. So out of the gate, they're not actually strong, but you almost always see Shooters upgraded at some point. Even though Jester doesn't have any upgrades on the Shooter boys now, it's going to happen. He will get the big Shooters. He will most likely at some point also get his Shooter Nobs as well. The Commando also adds to that because he is himself very powerful as a ranged commander. At 35 piercing DPS, that is the highest starting damage for a ranged commander in the game. It is shared with the Tech Marine. Okay, Stun Bomb will go on the Heretics right here. And, of course, I'm casually ignoring the fact that for whatever reason, Jester actually lost his natural power. And he actually had to destroy the node that Local put on it to reclaim it. Meanwhile, Local... Already, this is arguably a very interesting build for Local. It is something that, if I gotta say, it's one of those things where I'm not really sure if this should be a good build. Going double Heretic into Havoc. It's a little too small. There's an old variation of it where you actually go triple Heretic into Havoc. But the reason that works is because with triple Heretics, that gives you a lot of map control. Because you just have units out very cheaply. When you only have double Heretic, you really don't have nearly as much map control, and as we see, Local is kind of paying for it. He is also kind of just freely giving up this power farm, and I don't think he has a whole lot of ability to respond to it. Many of his units are spread out on other parts of the map. So while the Orc Tier 1 depends heavily on that range DPS and good, we do now also see one of those big shooters. Here's the second big shooter coming in. For the Sorcerer, his tier 1 depends a lot more on the Sorcerer's burst damage out of Doom Bolts. However, once you see a Sorcerer go for this build, the Sword of Flame and the Vestments of the Warp, that usually actually means a move away from the Doom Bolt-centric play, because both the Doom Bolts and the Teleport, they're going to compete with each other for energy, so you can't quite have them both. But the advantage of this build is, although you don't have quite the damage potential of doing more Doom Bolt heavy play, whoever the Sorcerer ties up, he will shut down their range damage. And with the Sword of Flame, he will also be putting a lot of pressure if it's a shooter squad. Even here, actually doing quite a lot of single target damage. Normally, one of the Sorcerer's weaknesses is that, certainly early on in the game, he kind of lacks single target damage. This is an interesting one. That's some fun stuff. Unfortunately for him, the Kommando Nob here is there to kind of, you know, at least get the Havocs out off the field. So that was the Warp Global from the Sorcerer. And that's another thing about him. It's something that, you know, is often seen as kind of cheesy. It is potentially extremely powerful. And what I like about it is that it's actually very flexible. There are a lot of applications to the Sorcerer Warp Global, and that was a more aggressive application of it. And usually the aggressive applications of it are a little bit more interesting. Usually the simpler applications are, sometimes you will just use that global to get a unit out of trouble. And since you can use the global on any unit whatsoever, some of the crazier times are when it's used on like a Dreadnought or a Land Raider Phobos at a time when it looks like a Dreadnought or a Land Raider. For any other hero in the game, a unit of that type would be gone. The Sorcerer has an answer, and he can actually just teleport it out of there. And it's kind of called it's kind of thought of as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Technically, it's not free. You have to pay the red. But especially if you're saving something like a Dreadnought or a Land Raider Phobos, usually spending the red to save that kind of unit is well worth it. It is also interesting to see Kill Jester actually go for a Luda here. The Sorcerer, again, is a hero. One of his strengths is that he is considered notoriously good at dealing with setup teams. Notoriously good in part because he is, you know, out of the game's teleporting heroes. There are only a few teleporting heroes in the game. Of course, he needs to upgrade to get his teleport, but he is also a teleporting hero who is primarily a melee hero. And in general, a melee teleporting hero is going to put more immediate pressure because melee in general generally just has higher DPS values than ranged. So if he teleports onto, say, a Luda squad, he's going to be putting a lot more pressure on that Luda squad than, say, like a Warp Spider Exarch teleporting onto such a squad, unless you're talking about a Warp Spider Exarch who is actually upgraded to the Power Blades, which these days is not so common. Sorcerer himself going for double Havoc, and I would say for the Sorcerer going for the Suppression playstyle is a little bit more typical. In fact, I would very much argue that going for double Havoc is a little strange, and that's definitely not standard. But single Havoc is usually pretty standard for a Sorcerer player. I think we're gonna see. I was gonna say that I thought we were gonna see Kill Jester move to the bottom, just completely destroy Local's power farm, and just completely trade out against what Local is doing to him. And personally, I do think that would have been the better play here. Looks like he might be able to do it anyway, so he might just have his cake and eat it too. I've actually never liked that expression. He destroyed the node middle. Shooter DPS is so high, as well as I feel like Local's response to this is pretty slow. Looks like he might leave the node up as he moves out of here. I think he had time. I don't know actually if he had time to fully take down the node, but he could have put damage on it. So our victory point's going to be 291 to 381. And we also notice it's, if anything, this has been happening for... Okay. I'm not entirely sure what Local's obsession with Raptor squads are. If you're in Tier 2, I feel like you just go Bloodletters. Like, I personally don't really... Alright, here's the argument for Raptors. With Raptors, if you can get a nice teleport, not a teleport. Oh, Havoc going to be taken down off screen by some hidden Slugger Boys. If Raptors get... Oh my god, that Sorcerer. If Raptors do get a nice jump when the two Shooter Boys are close to each other, then you can suppress them both. So that's kind of the advantage of Raptors over Bloodletters. Otherwise, in most other cases, if you're in Tier 2, I feel like you get Bloodletters instead of Raptors. So I'm going to say that's probably the line of thought. That's the Dark Flames global, used right there. Mini nuke for the Sorcerer. Does do, you know, flame damage in an area, and over time, as we see, they're still taking some burn damage, but not quite enough to pressure them off the field entirely. So, and there are differing opinions on the use of that particular global. In the past, it has been my personal opinion that that kind of use of the Dark Flames is not really a great use of it. I've generally preferred trying to save that global for times when you can catch a squad on retreat and wipe it on retreat using that global. This Raptor jump was incredibly ill-advised. Oh my god, oh my god. What happened? Does he lose the squad here? I don't think he loses the squad, but he teleports them out of there with the Warp Global again, which was frankly unnecessary. But he should not have lost 3 models there. That was a very ill-advised jump. Unfortunately, something like a Death Dread hard counters something like a Raptor squad, or at least a ranged Raptor squad. Maybe later on, if the Raptors do get their Melt-A-Guns, then the Raptors would actually kind of counter the Death Dread, but we're not there yet. So now Local's going to get the Blood Crusher. Yeah, and this is something I'm going to have to personally disagree with this too. I think between the two, like, I think the Raptors... Let me restart that sentence. I think the Blood Crusher should have been the first purchase. Like, if you get to Tier 2, I think the Blood Crusher needed to come out earlier, especially the Blood Crusher of all vehicles gets a lot more value when it does come out a lot earlier. Sorcerer trying to go in. He's trying to see if he can wipe the Shooter Boys. Can he do it? I think he can. He does indeed. So that is also another one of the strengths of the Sorcerer as a teleporting melee commander with that Sword of Flame. Pretty good at catching units on retreat. He'll probably have a teleport soon, but I don't think... Yeah, so he'll go for it. I think he can get another model here, but I don't think he wipes the squad. We'll see if I'm wrong. Oh my god, it's close. But he doesn't have another teleport ready. He got the model, so, you know, it's just more bleed that he inflicted. Now, that being said, early on in the game, I talked about the Sorcerer's accessory war gears, and that's definitely where a lot of the potential cheese, or I like to call it creativity, of the Sorcerer comes from. But sometimes those war gears aren't always essential, and as much as the Sorcerer has some cheesy creative stuff, on some level sometimes you just need to play a more fundamental game to win. And sometimes that actually does mean foregoing some of the Sorcerer's fun accessory war gears. Now, talk about fun war gears. The Kommando has some himself. The most fun war gear on the Kommando is the Kaboom ability. We don't see that here. Kaboom. I like Kaboom. And I think it actually could work out well against what Local has. Like, if he can catch some heretics, especially if he catches them in a retreat path, would also be great against the Raptors as well. Like, if the Raptors jump in and the Kommando can actually be in a position to wait for them and kaboom them when they jump in, that would actually be great. Unfortunately, the Kommando Nob very much out of position. Death Dread is coming to save him. Can he get out of here in time? And, ooh, Kill Jester, he doesn't have... Okay, he has a Beamy Luda. I was going to say, I feel like he doesn't have anything else in addition to deal with the Blood Crusher. Blood Crusher is taking damage from the Beamy Luda. It's not out of the range of it. It's still going for the Death Dread. I think there's a chance here. How far? Okay, I think both vehicles go down here. One more shot from the last cannon will do it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it comes in. So, vehicles are traded out. I wasn't initially expecting the Beamy Luda. I was expecting some tank busters. And truth be told, I think given the timing that Kill Jester actually went for the tier 3 upgrade, I think he probably could have gotten tank blisters anyway. I mean, he chose to get the Ludas, and you know what? The Ludas did the job, so maybe I shouldn't be too critical of it. At this time in the game, power has been weird this game. Local has not much. He only has this node, granting him +5. The other 10 is actually just coming from his headquarters. Your headquarters, or your Chaos Temple, or teleporter platform, whatever you want to call it, generates +10 baseline. So even if you own no power whatsoever, you're guaranteed a minimum of +10, but +10 is also pretty bad. Generally, if you're at +10 power, that's usually a pretty bad situation. It's also a bad situation if you're at +79. Or rather, well, if you're at +79, that's actually good for you. But if you're at +79 and your opponent's at +15, that's usually really bad for your opponent. Local going for a second Blood Crusher. While Kill Jester is going to tier 3. Ooh, and yeah, that happens to be a really good purchase. And this might be recognition. This might be recognition from Kill Jester that he has a tech advantage, because at the moment the Nobs are going to be quite good. Now the Sorcerer typically is actually considered very good at anti-melee. He also has probably one of the most powerful anti-melee warriors in the Robes of Torment. This is a little bit strange here. Let's actually take a quick look at this. Is this guy running backwards? Is he really running backwards? Like, that lead shooter guy, he's running... That's some warp stuff right there. Like, he has been corrupted by the warp. I think he fixed himself. Alright. Anyway. Local going to be working on this generator farm again. So yeah, at the moment, Local really does not have a good answer to the Nobs. I wouldn't be surprised here if he actually just ignores the Nobs and tries to finish the power, though. I think he could still get, like, another generator. But he doesn't quite go for it. Doesn't give up the heretic models. So at the moment, the Nobs they're in a very, very good position. And the Blood Crusher also ends up being a pretty bad purchase against the Nobs. Like, it was a blind purchase. But this is kind of a consequence of Local not managing to maintain power. I'm not even sure how much he's tried to put power on his natural. Yeah, but he just hasn't maintained much power. So he's stuck in tier 2 against Nobs. He spent resources on a Blood Crusher, which is very, very bad into Nobs. Local never got a Chaos Space Marine squad. And that isn't completely non-existent. Like, there was, again, there's an old school build for going triple Heretic into Havoc for Sorcerer in tier 1. But that leaves him without really a great source of damage against the Nobs. Typically, Chaos Space Marines are one of your primary sources of damage against the Nobs. Local will get Bloodletters. That'll be a good damage source against the Nobs, and he can support them with Heretic, so that's okay. Would still be nice to have a Chaos Space Marine squad. These shooters do not have an Aspiring Champion. Or rather, of course they don't have an Aspiring Champion. They're not Chaos. They don't have a Nob leader, so they can't detect. Raptors, yeah, Raptors, they did not even jump. They didn't even really have to, because they were coming out of infiltration. They'll cut up a few of those shooter models. Meanwhile, the Bloodletters are out here. And... Alright, I think Local's actually in a pretty good position now. But he's got to manage this engagement correctly, and unfortunately, the Havoc's getting engaged on like that is not it. Now, luckily for him, it looks like he found a kill somewhere. Unfortunately for Local, it looks like he's going to lose yet another Blood Crusher. Oh my god. This might sound crazy, but even with these Ludas in melee... Let me see, this Blood Crusher is at 8 hit points. Truth be told, the Ludas might even be able to melee down the Blood Crusher, but they're actually trying to get away from it. Certainly the Nobs literally would only take one swing. Oh, he tries to fear them away, but they actually... I think they were out of range when it was used. So, second Blood Crusher. Oh no, but Kill Jester losing even more units. What happened to all of his units? I didn't even see. I feel like I kind of at the moment feel like both of the players are throwing away units. Like, I don't feel that second Blood Crusher got a whole lot of value. I think Kill Jester can also turn on this, yeah, the Heretic squad, so Heretics are gone. That being said, that's a very good use of the Summoning Circle Global, something that I think is going to be quite good against the Nobs. We're going to see Commandos called in, and another Nob squad is on the way. I wanted to talk about how I feel like Local was in a good position where he's got a pretty nice big army. I actually feel like the Blood Crusher could have gotten some use there. With Local having, when he had such a big army and when he was set up with the Tzeentch Worship and he was trying to hold this side of the map, I think he could have tried to manage the situation where he would have been able to control the Nobs with Heretic Doomblast and could have had the Blood Crusher just try to tie up other targets. Raptor's going to jump in. They jump in blind. They do partially reveal the Commandos. Bloodletters will also be teleporting in as well. Now, Kill Jester is just making a beeline. I was thinking he was making a beeline for the victory point, but I think he also realizes that Local thinks that's what he's doing too. So that's why Local is just moving up here. He was trying to, like, body reveal the Commandos, but Kill Jester kind of had a sense of what was going on there as well. So he'll instead get the decap on the power, which, truth be told, at this point in the game, I don't know how much of an impact that's going to have. He might be thinking about just trying to keep Local in Tier 2, but at this point, Local, for Local, it's not even just about power anymore. He's Rex-starved as well. Local's really locked into Tier 2 for the rest of this game, pretty much. Love Dodaka, unfortunately doing friendly knockback. Raptors jump in, Stagger jump in, but they get the suppression on the Commandos, and that still will be a fight that they win quite handily. Commandos trying to stay out on the field, but oh no, they're going to be approached by too many things. So Local continues to hold the position. Kill Jester will look for cap on this victory point. But of course, you know, as I've talked about before a few times, the win condition, the late game win condition on this map is to hold the left side of the map because the victory points are very close to each other. And this is something that Local is kind of having better recognition of. Part of it also is that Kill Jester has had a smaller army for most of at least like the past 5 minutes or so, maybe even longer. Ooh. And no, actually Kill Jester can handle the bleed. What Kill Jester can't handle is the fact that he's retreating. So Commando will move over here. Commando might even be looking for a back cap on Local's natural, and Local is throwing away units as well. What happened to Local's army? Unfortunately for the Sorcerer, he's not in Tier 3, which, you know, and that might seem like an obvious thing, but for those of you who play more often, the Sorcerer has oh my god, what is this? The Sorcerer has a Tier 3 war gear that is... Yeah, that play just made me shut up for a second. I don't know about that one, Local. The Sorcerer has a Tier 3 war gear that is actually highly effective against Nobs. It is called the Tome of Subjugation. It is one of those accessory war gears out of the Sorcerer. You mind control a squad, which means you temporarily take control of it. So it's generally, you want to use it on like high value squads, usually primarily melee squads because of their usually higher DPS values compared to ranged squads, but any squad that you can have an impact with in a short period of time. And the truth is most elite Tier 3 squads do fit into that category, Nobs included. That being said, Kill Jester with 2 Nob squads. He could also just hard focus on the Sorcerer with one of the other Nob squads if it does get subjugated, because the Sorcerer does have to channel the ability, which does leave him vulnerable, particularly in a 1v1. Local back with the double cap and with the Blood Crusher. Let's see if this one lasts much longer than the others. Going into Nobs. Like, a Blood Crusher is not good into Nobs. It's not. Like, I'm trying to think of what I'd rather see local get instead. Probably a squad of Chaos Space Marines to provide damage against the Nobs. He would have to upgrade Chaos Space. Yeah, I mean, he can fear them away once, but beyond that, now that that's on cooldown, the Blood Crusher can't do anything to these Nobs. All right, actually, you know what? Technically, it can charge them, but the truth is, the Nobs can survive the charge. They can shrug that off. And once both of the Blood Crusher's abilities are on cooldown, and the only reason the Blood Crusher's doing okay right now is the Nobs are literally not fighting the Blood Crusher. How about this fight that's going on right here? Raptors are going to be gone. Oh no, but the Bloodletter's also just standing around in the fire, the burn-a-bomb. And now local literally has nothing out on the field. I might have jinxed it. I might have, like, tried to... Like, I definitely don't condone those people who kind of just trash talk or... Yeah, basically just those people who just trash talk local, but on some level, I gotta say, like, I'll say that local lived up to his reputation in this game. And I do try to make a balance of not posting too many local games in quick succession, as a rule. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.